What's up, blogs? All right, today I want to talk about how to not come across as a creep when you're interacting with women. This is a common complaint that guys have, is that, and you hear this all the time. They say, oh, well, it's only creepy if you're not good looking. That's not true, all right? But what I want to tell you is how to actually do this, because I had a coaching client of mine, and he had said something about flirting, because he was asking questions about should he ask a girl if she's single or not. And I was like, no, you never want to ask that. And that kind of led us into this video topic, because I realized, I was like, oh, wow, this is actually the solution for guys that are worried that they're going to come across as a creep. And I couldn't really explain to you. I've said before, I've said that the difference between creepy and being suave, let's say, is boldness. It's risk reversal, right? So, and there's truth to this, right? But I want to expound upon this a little bit more, give you a little bit more in-depth insight into this, because what I was saying is that if you approach a woman and you do it in a way such that you are buffering yourself from rejection, right? So you're essentially putting the risk on her, where she has to, it feels weird to her, then it's going to come across as creepy. Whereas if you fully just accept the rejection and put it completely, the ball in your court, in terms of, if you're bold, right, then it doesn't come across as creepy, right? But there's a little bit more to it than that, right? And that still is true, right? So at a very basic level, if you go out and you talk to a girl that you find attractive, if you do this in a way such that you're not being direct with your intent, you're kind of trying to make it so that she doesn't really know what you're doing, then it comes across as creepy, right? So for example, if you just, like, you see a girl that you're attracted to and you just keep on staring at her, or maybe you kind of like follow her from room to room at a party and you're just waiting for the opportunity, you keep on making eye contact, that type of thing is going to come across as creepy, obviously, right? Whereas if you just saw a girl that you're attracted to, you walked right up to her and you started talking to her, it wouldn't come across as creepy. Okay, but again, I know a lot of you guys don't like that answer. You still say, oh, it depends if you're good looking. I get it. Okay, but I want to give you something a little bit more, with a little bit more depth. Okay, so here's the deeper kind of principle behind this, and something that I think you can apply a little bit more easily to understand this, which is, it's actually the purpose of flirtation, right? So I get all the time questions about how do you flirt, and a lot of guys don't understand how to flirt, right? But here's what you're doing when you're flirting, right? And this is why it's so important to learn how to do this, is that you are creating a situation where you're not coming across as creepy, because you're sending out certain signals, and then you're reading the room, you're reading the response that you get back, right? So for instance, a lot of guys are uncalibrated socially. They will go and they might approach a girl, and they might even do it in a somewhat bold way, although I can tell you that most guys are not doing it in a bold way, which is fine. It's hard to do it in a bold way if you don't have confidence, because you haven't had a lot of positive experiences. But what they'll do is they will not pay attention to the response that the girl is giving them, and that ends up becoming very creepy, because it's like they don't get it. They don't understand that this girl's not attracted to them. They're not showing those signals, but why are they continuing to pursue? Why are they continuing to hang around? That's usually what the problem is, right? Whereas what I'm suggesting that you do is that you use flirtation in order to send out a probe. Like, you're sending a signal out, and you're seeing what response you get. Right? So instead of being necessarily direct, instead of going up to a girl and saying, hey, I'm interested in you. Are you single? Right? Which, again, if you say it just like that, if you don't have any kind of weirdness about it, you just are friendly and say that, it's probably not going to come across as creepy. All right. However, it's not the best thing, right? Because what's going to happen there? She's going to be put on the spot. If you're not a very attractive guy, then she's going to have to make a split-second decision, and she's probably going to turn you down in some way, right? That's most likely the result of that. So what is a better, more calibrated way is to go up to a girl that you're interested in and to start flirting with her by sending some interest signals out that are bold, but not completely direct, right? So instead of saying, are you single? Maybe you're saying, oh, hey, are you it's what are you doing here? Like, what's going on? I like that purse. Something where you're creating some kind of flirtation, right? So maybe you're teasing her about something. You're saying, oh wow, you just seem like not exactly the kind of girl that I would think would be in a place like this. It's kind of, yeah, it looks like you're maybe from, I guess some place that she's from, right? Making some assumption about her, giving some kind of flirtatious banter back and forth. Again, it's really hard to do this on the fly without a subject, right? I hope you can appreciate that, because I don't have anything to go off of. But in this situation, what you want to do is you want to look for something that, we've talked about this before on this channel, but what is flirtation, right? Flirtation is going to be, or some of the best ways to flirt is going to be teasing her about something. It's going to be creating some kind of scenario or role play type of situation, right? Those are kind of flirtatious things. Or it could be something where you're giving a compliment, but then you're kind of taking it away a little bit, right? So where you're saying something like, you're kind of cute, but you look like trouble. Or, nah, but I have to stay away from girls like you, right? Oh, I can't even look at you. Just, whew. What are you doing with those eyes? I don't know about you. You're just you look like you might be some kind of trouble. Something like that, where what's happening is that you're kind of giving a compliment, but the intent is not 100% clear, right? And so coming back to this, right? What does this do? What it does is it creates sort of this ping pong game, right? Where you're basically hitting the ball to her, and then you're seeing if she hits it back. And if she hits it back, then you might hit it a little harder, okay? And if she hits it back a little harder, then you might hit a little harder. And that's how you're ramping things up. And that's how you know a girl's interested in you, right? So you're sending out these probes. And so a lot of guys, what they do is they think, okay, well, I need to get choosing signals from a girl. That's not true. That's her sending the probe out, which is fun. I mean, sometimes you may have that situation, but it's less likely that you're going to have a situation. And it's also less likely that you as a man are going to pick up on this, unless you're experienced in picking up on this, because a lot of the signals that women throw out are weak signals and you're not necessarily aware of them, right? So one of the things that women do in order to get a guy to approach them is they will make eye contact, but the kind of eye contact they make is very brief eye contact, or they'll just have a more open posture, or they'll just happen to show up near him, right? There's a lot of very subtle things that women will do that you might not pick up on. And of course, you're going to miss the opportunity if you're waiting for those things. So what I'm telling you is this, right? Is you want to send out the probe, right? You're going to hit the ball to her court, but you're going to do it in a very light way to start. And it depends on the circumstance, right? And it depends on the timeline, right? So if you're in a situation where you have a long timeline, you're going to be in that proximity of that girl for a long period of time, let's say, or a repeated time, let's say a yoga class that you're going to, that she goes to, or the gym or something like that, then you want to send out very light probes, right? You can just a little tiny thing just to see how does she respond. That might be where the very first thing that you're doing doesn't even feel like flirting at all. It's just nodding at her. That's it. Just and not continue to stare. Just you walk by and you nod at her, give her a little bit of wink, right? Now you see what she does. And if she responds back in somewhat of a positive way, then that's great. Then the next time you see her, you might actually go and talk to her and say hi, right? And so on and so forth as you're escalating. Now, if you're in a tight situation, let's say that you are in, let's say a pickup situation where you're at a bar or a nightclub, or some situation where you're only going to see this girl one time, you're probably not going to see her again. What do you got to do? You got to set a little bit of a stronger probe, but still not one that's going to put you into the creepy zone. I mean, you could be direct if you want to, but you're going to get an answer very, very quickly. Instead, it's a little bit better to send something that's a little bit stronger, but not too strong, right? You never want to make your intent totally clear. Otherwise, it stops being flirtatious. It's not fun. It's not a game, right? Flirtation is a game. It's supposed to be fun. So maybe in that situation, you see a girl at a nightclub. That's where maybe you go up to her and you say, "You're kind of cute, but you look like trouble," right? Again, that's pretty strong. on that, and that's something that you'd have to be able to pull off. But maybe you're just making some kind of compliment about something that she's wearing, but then you're backing it off by saying, but yeah, but my mom warned me to stay away from girls like you, or like, but yeah, but I just don't. I just blondes, I can't stand blondes. They always have such an anger problem. Or something like that where you're giving her a compliment, but then you're kind of taking it away, but you're making it a tease out of this. So it becomes, that's a pretty strong one. And then you see how she responds to that. And if she responds in a negative way, or she's just not giving you much, then you know that, okay, this flirtation failed. Maybe I came on too strong with that, and so I didn't get that ball to get bounced back to me. Or maybe there was just no interest at all, and this isn't going anywhere, and so I can gracefully bow out of this. But if she sends back a signal and she says something, she starts to tease you back, or she says something about you, or she, the best case scenario is that she qualifies herself, she justifies herself and says, oh, well, that's not true. She's engaging into your frame. In that case, okay, now you've got something where now you can start to send some more signals back and forth. And eventually you can get to a point where you know very clearly that, okay, she's clearly interested, and now you can get rid of some of these formalities and you can get into the actual heart of the issue and start to actually talk to her. So I think this is more of just an advanced concept, that it's something that I never really thought about that much until it's just something that I did, just something default. And when I would take guys out and teach them, I would kind of teach them how to do this, but I didn't really cognitively assess why that was until today, until I was answering this for a coaching client. Oftentimes, a lot of the things that end up becoming something that I teach, it's something that I understand at a sort of gut level, but I haven't really thought about it. And so when someone asks this question or asks a question about it, then it comes out a little bit more. So there you go. So let me know if you have any questions about this. I know there's a lot to this, but essentially it just boils down to this, which is that if you don't want to be creepy, learn how to flirt, and learn how to flirt in such a way that you're picking up those signals, and when you're not picking up the signals, then you're ratcheting it down, right? And you can go down and then come back up if you can build that attraction from that, demonstrating that you're a funny guy, demonstrating that you're a guy that has higher status, has good social skills, right? You can actually come back up potentially, but you need to be able to read the room at any time and understand what are the signals that are being sent. Women are really good at perceiving that. That's why a lot of times you're going to come across as creepy, is because she's sending signals. They're covert signals. They're not overt, okay? But you're not picking up on them. Other girls around are seeing them as well. You're not picking up on them. You become the creepy guy. When you do pick up on them, and especially when you're sending your own signals out and you're getting that echolocation, you're like bleep, 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 and then you're able to detect what's happening. You're gauging her response. Then you can calibrate yourself, and that's what when guys talk about calibration, that's what they really mean. And so hopefully that's helpful. Again, like I said, if you have any questions, let me know. If you want some more in-depth type of how do you actually approach, how do you pick up a girl, click the link down below. I've got the Bulldog Mindset membership, and there's a ton of content in there. I've got actual text. I show you all that kind of cool stuff. See you tomorrow.